Having very easily revolutionized fusions, it's time to talk about Dracotail. We've been doing a little something with it, but we got events, we got locals, we got worlds events coming up. All kind of stuff is coming. Make sure you get a construct map. Welcome back. It's good to see you. Dracotail Shaddoll. So guys, it is by pure coincidence that I actually had this mat designed, and then Shaddoll's completely dropped. It was new, it's gas inside of this deck, and I'm having a blast with it. I've had so many online tournaments, locals and stuff. I haven't played in any events yet. We just haven't had any around here, and we did have one in like Fayetteville, but everybody knows about that regional, how awful it is. So I haven't really got to travel to any regionals, but I have been messing around with this deck and it's been a lot of fun. So without further ado, I kind of wanted to get into it and talk about it. Let's talk about it. I definitely think that this isn't the best build just because you don't want to draw the bricks that are Shaddolls, but sometimes Winda is just MVP and it's easy. So let's just get straight into it. Triple Lukias, call it Lukia Doncic. Really fun card. It's the main starter of the deck. Everybody already kind of knows about that. And obviously when they use this fusion material, they set some cards to the field. You'll see that in the combo that's coming up right after this. But this is the main point guard of the deck. No pun intended. But it gets everything kind of going, gets your Femina in hand, gets everything kind of situated the way that you need to. I usually try to normal summon this one over that one. A lot of people are playing 2. I still believe in 3. Just because it puts a lot of pressure on cards like Imperm, cards like Valor, etc., which you're going to see if you're playing this deck, because people, if you're intelligent, are just going to wait on the big Dracotail, which we'll also point out when we get to it. But I definitely feel like if you're reading a lot of hand traps, or if you've seen their hand with a talent or something already, I'm siding the talents. But if you've seen a hand trap already and you feel like, okay, I can just put pressure onto their turn, you want to normal summon this one over this one. If you already have like a full hand full of stuff, I normal this one most of the time. But if I need to get the Femina in my hand, I go with Lucius first. It's always the primary one. But this is the secondary one. It's still very good. The tertiary one is the best actual card in the deck, is Femina. She's basically Havness. She's tier limit Havness in 2025. She can be impulsed and called by the grave. Those are like your public enemies. But other than that, she's really kind of unstoppable, and she's going to land almost every single time and give your opponent a rough day. I feel like knowing your combo lines, knowing how to get Urgula and this into the grave, and Urgula kick this back into your hand is very important. And that's what we're going to point out in the combo. But I can't say enough good things about this one either. Just look out for called by and look out for impulse. Rounding out these monsters, I'm playing 1 and 1 in this build. 1 Urgula and 1 Pan. In the pure build, I'm playing 2 and 2. For this build, you don't want to have stuff running into each other. You just want to get straight to this and then get the game over with a window and some other cards. Excuse me. Magnamut, I feel like it wasn't my side, but I felt like I was seeing so many Fiendsmiths. I was seeing so many of like weird mashups of decks that are just slipping lights in and out of decks, that you just want to have Magnamut in there, and then being able to loop it itself with your fusion Arthalion, in case you guys forgot. You can obviously kick it back into your hand and then loop this as well, which is also really important and really key to pushing for what you need to get done in the game. And then it also searches your dragons, which you just saw already. Very important, I feel like. And I've also had people like try to bestial my Malulu, or they try to use their Malulu if I'm playing a mirror or something. Like, Mag comes up more than you think, and until it gets banned, which I feel like it's about to be, there's no reason you shouldn't be playing it somewhere. And I'm playing it in the main because it works well. The Shaddolls, you don't want to see these like that. They're not good cards to draw by themselves. They don't do anything by themselves. But together with a card like Femina, or if you see Lucius, that means you also see Femina if they're not going to hand trap that, which most of the time they're just not. There's no Droll coming or anything in this format right now, in the main deck at least. So you definitely want to look out for specific things, but you also don't want to play too much of the Shaddoll package just because they don't do anything, and you need cards to be able to interact with your opponent. So that would be the weakness of this version, is these just don't do anything by themselves. However, Genius, Negates, Squamata to dump, so it can kind of clear these out of your deck if they're in your way. And then Beast and Hedgehog, there's going to be the primary ones that you use. But Squamata can help you kind of clear stuff out. So it just depends. And then I'm also siding Dragon. You can play Aerial. I'm not playing Apcolon or Granganol, I think his name is. There's a line where you can do with Granganol to get you into Beast, to get you into to stuff. But I feel like you're playing more Shaddoll. That's not a good idea. Not against good players. This deck has to play Nib. Nib is Nib. There's no question in this deck. You really don't have a choice. And it also just facilitates how strong your fusions are when they're on the field, just because you can simply nib them and get the game over with. Duh. And then usually having this behind the window is like game-breaking, earth-shattering even. Triple Fuwalos, I do feel like these really speak for themselves as well. I'm siding Perulia at the moment. I'm only siding one. The Perulia gets in this deck's way a little bit. That's just my opinion. That's just what I've seen. But you can play main deck and you can play maximum amounts of them. But just for me, it just hasn't been working. This has been working. And I have a lot of yummy around me. So the Perulia is really not doing me any good. But I still have to play it one somewhere. And so it's in my side right now. But Nib and this obviously control your opponent's pacing and what they are able to do. You have to play Ash. Your Ashes are more impactful in this deck. You don't lose to the Charmies, but you also don't like Fuwalos itself. You're gonna give them 2 max, but it's like, who cares? Because most of the time, I want to hold the Ash. I've still held the Ash after they Fuwalos me, and I still won the game because it just didn't matter, and I knew I was gonna have Winda, and they couldn't play through it, and then they really couldn't play through that plus Ash. Ash itself isn't the most amazing, but when it's so impactful inside of a deck like this, it's absolutely insane. I definitely feel like 2 Phantasme in the main deck has been absolutely phenomenal. The amount of yummy is why I'm doing this. You don't have to do this, but it's also a high-level dragon. Shout out to Sublimation and Annihilation Dragon, and this also can go along with the Secretarian. And there's just some more plays that you can do, and it's just like having these over like dead Perulias, which Perulia is a very, very powerful card, but inside of this deck, I actually wanted to see this, and this actually made more sense, and it made sense over a long period of time. So I promise you, you have to play Phantasme in this deck, and I think it's gonna get uncovered over time, especially with how many Link decks are actually in existence right now. The last hand trap is Ogre. In this build, I'm only playing 1. In other builds, I'm playing 2 with 2 Bells or something and some Veilers and a whole lot of other stuff. It's really up to you. Really, your hand trap lineup kind of has to go by what you see the most. I see a lot of yummy, and the field spells and specific cards. This is also okay in the mirror because it can get rid of a fusion material or get rid of a Gulamel, which actually matters sometimes. And it's really the only spot that you can in that matchup, but it's still really, really strong. Triple King of the Swamp. This is where it gets kind of wonky for me. I still play Cartesia in other builds. In this build, it doesn't come up as much, and it gets in the way of doing what I want to do, which is Winda. And this helps you get to Winda, or helps you get to a Dracotail, which helps you get to Winda, or helps you to just be able to fuse, which you absolutely have to have. And you make Dragoons off of this, which is also really, really stupid. And then there's a tier version that you can also mess around with it, and it's an Aqua. So Dracotail with tier, yes, it's real, and it's possible. Also possible is playing Poly, and it will come up a lot where you'll open this, and you'll be like, but then you still, even in those hands, you still win the game off of that, so it doesn't matter too much. 3 Rahus. The siding patterns, I usually side one of these out, just depending. Just because it gets super redundant to keep seeing this card, and you don't want to keep seeing this card because it's dead if you keep seeing them. But it's also a really, really fantastic card to have, and you have to have them. You also have to play the 3 Rhoda. It's Rhoda and Shaddoll Fusion. So yeah, can't say anything better about that. And then obviously you got 2 of the trap, one and one of the trap. I've been wanting to play more, but then it's like you open them in your hand and you're like, shut up to yourself. So you know that kind of is what it is with that. So 40 in the main. There's nothing really that I would adjust in this version. You don't want to see like Veiler. You're not playing Construct or anything. I'm not playing Construct, at least. You can. There's a lot of stuff you can play in this version, like Edge Imps and
patchworks and stuff. And I mess around with a lot of it, and you can mess around with Cartesian there, but again, that doesn't help a whole lot. You know, obviously Granganol and Apcolone. If you want to play Windy and you're just getting too cute, just like the Super Polys are getting too cute, you're having to line them all up. So it's really, you have to kind of make some concessions to get to the point. I have been messing around with Schism and Windy, and it just was in the way of just trying to play the deck the right way. But I definitely would highly recommend just kind of messing around with a lot of the ideas that you can with this deck, because there's so much to cover with this deck that it's almost like I want to do a tier list of just these builds of Dracotail themselves, just because it's like really, really stupid how many different ways that you can take this deck, and that's why it's a good investment. If you haven't invested in one of these decks from Juhu, I highly recommend at least picking up one of them, because they're going to be around for a while. The side I'm playing no thrust, just actual power cards that you want to see, and I don't want to thrust into because I don't want to see spells like that. I just want to see spells that do something when I draw them. These are that. You can play one if you really feel like you need to, but Shaddoll Fusion, really, really dumb, and it helps clear all the bricks out of your deck. You obviously have double Dark Ruler and as well as Feather Duster. They're gonna handle most of what you need. This is good against Yummy. It's absolutely elite against Yummy, elite against Crystron, and a lot of those jank decks that you will see that have the mashups with K9 and all that, and you just have to get the game over with. Also puts a lot of pressure on a lot of the deck you're gonna see, and they just can't handle it. You don't play Super Poly in this one, you can. I haven't been, and it's Dark Ruler's just been performing better. Literally, like I played the pure version the other day, and I was playing, I played against the pure version of like Yubel. I was playing Yubel, I was playing pure, and I had like Super Poly, and I still didn't win the game. And it was like, if this was just Dark Ruler, the game would have ended. So I still feel like Dark Ruler is just a better card overall, slightly right now. Triple Fenrir, you have to, and it also makes Shake a little bit more. It also, it's better going first, not so good going second anymore. It's still okay going second, but then it's not facilitating your fusion, so nah. But you can have this as an additional body that you add, you special one, add one to your hand, and then you can make a Shake for free. With this, that actually beats K9. So this, the Shakanaga in the extra deck, they beat K9, seriously. Not joking. That's why I'm not too impressed with K9. K9's dumb, but it's like you don't have to play it, so it kind of is what it is with that. Triple Droll, just because I play against a lot of decks where they do a lot of searching, and I don't want to sit there all day. And then obviously, what I kind of talked about earlier, Dragon, when you're going against a back row deck, you just, trust me, you'll be thankful when you do see it. And then Call by the Grave, talents for the other power spells. You don't want to have too many spells get in your way, but if they are going to come into your hand, you want them to do some work when you see them. That's just what it is with that. Obviously, I feel like in this version, I don't want to see too many other cards. Like, I don't want to keep seeing this in Shaddoll. I want to see Shaddolls, or I want to see, you can pace control them with more, but you know, then I would just want to play pure at that point. So in this version, just one. The extra deck itself, sorry, this isn't organized. It was organized a little bit, but Winda, obviously got to start off with Winda. And then obviously you got Shake for the Shaddolls. Shakanaga has been absolutely hilarious in testing. I was playing Construct. Construct doesn't come up. Grista doesn't come up like that either. And I feel like if you're making Grista, it's kind of tough sledding for you, or you're kind of possibly already behind. But I play Grista before I play Construct, just because Construct, you're never going to get into battle and want to touch a death something. But if the format changes, that would change. However, Construct sitting on top of towers, take it for yourself. Guardian Chimera, obviously you have to play it, as well as Dragoons for your situational matchups. And then obviously Secretarion and Mysterion, brothers, they do their job. I would actually cut this one if I've been thinking about playing two of these, but that's in like the back of my mind. I don't know too much about that one. I'm not feeling, and it's really hard to time him up, and then Yummy can kind of cook him anyway, so it's kind of like, yeah, that's cute. Good luck with that. But it's still really, really good in theory, so you kind of have to play it until I kind of think it out a little bit. I'd definitely be considering Light and Darkness Dragon, as well as Sublimation. I think the other one's name is Annihilation or something like that. They're both really, really phenomenal cards, and there's a line where you can drop Lad on people. And it's, you know, I don't know if that's the most optimal, but it definitely is extremely powerful. And if you put the traps that you've already seen, and then you put LAD in front of that, the game is over with. Just like the game is over if you start hitting them with hand traps and then looping them back into your hand. You guys have seen what Arthalion does. He speaks for himself. He's also really strong in the Regenesis version because you can just launch their whole board. And double Gulamel, you can play one in mashup versions. I'm still playing two. It's one of my favorite cards ever printed, which is strange. But I'm a Necros player that likes Trish, so I know how to land Trish. So I feel like with him, I just land him all the time. And he kind of reminds me of Trish himself. Handles the game, pops some stuff, can special summon himself just like this one can back. And just give your opponent a hard time dealing with really, really big bodies. Highly recommend playing Cross Sheep, as well as you have to play this package. I don't think that's a question, but I highly recommend Cross Sheep because you get pulled into a drag, long, drawn out game, just full of a whole lot of nothing. You're gonna be irritated. So this card can help you kind of end the game. Filler Regis is okay, but unless you're playing those dragons that I was talking about, it just doesn't come up like that. This version, I'm trying to get straight to the point and drop Winda and get the game over with. Let's get into the combo.